This is what I do for work. This, and this. What's up, strangers? This is Jason Nisini, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. So in today's video, I'm gonna briefly talk about my personal journey, switching from architect to iOS developer. So far, it's only been 2 months in, so probably it's too soon to tell the whole picture. I figured it's still worth sharing this amazing experience, even it's short, just as a person without any CS degrees and computing background. So hopefully it will help people who are a bit hesitated to learn or a bit scared of diving into this kind of unknown field. So I'm gonna do a small introduction of myself, and then I'll explain the motivation and why I wanted to start this, and then some of the challenges, of course, I've encountered, and how I've been utilizing some of the latest AI tools to help me learning. So I've been working in Australia architecture industry for more than 6 years already. I don't hate it at all. But making apps and games that people would actually use has been one of the childhood dream. But the exhaustive daily work and growing age has been keeping me away from trying. So this year, I finally have courage to take a step. I'm turning 33 by the end of this year, and I feel like it's now or never. So I've been self-learning for approximately 2 months in now. And in this video, so I'm gonna say, some common learning methodologies that I learned in architecture, I found somehow it's really helpful when I try to understand and implement them into the process of learning in SwiftUI. So my starting point of choosing SwiftUI over a lot of other language was actually funny. I had a terrible learning experience when I was in uni doing an elective called Advanced Web Page Design, where students were asked to write all their codes in a plain text using HTML, a PHP. So things were not clicking for me at that time, and I dropped that elective in the first 2 weeks because there's no visual things, I guess. I'm more like a visual creature. So although I'm a great communicator in work and life, but I'm really not comfortable in front of cameras. That's what it's been holding this video for so long. I was thinking about making videos right from the beginning as I start to learn, but then it just feels weird to look at myself in a video and listen to my own sound even. But now I guess I have learned a lot of valuable things in those amazing learning experience. I thought it's valuable to share with other people. So whilst I'm still doing day jobs as an architecture design lead, I started with some simple tuts on Swift Playground after work. So it's about half an hour or an hour a day at most, where I start to write simple codes that involves properties, conditions, loops, and values, things like that. I found the ideas of class and struct quite confusing at that moment, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you from completing those small games and small tasks in the playground. So after I finally got some times off from work, I started to follow YouTube SwiftUI tuts. I intentionally tried to look for more structured series of videos instead of just speedy tuts like how to make an app in one day, how to make an app in 5 minutes, like that. I know I need more robust and structured knowledge, so enough to digest and convert them for building up my own knowledge system. So I'm gonna explain a little bit here. This is how I learn things. It might took me slightly longer when processing a new thing in my head, because I always tend to convert something I don't understand and use metaphor or simplify it to something I already know. So once done, it will stay in my memory forever, and I will then be able to improvise as needed. I know it's all beginner stuff, but for example, if it took me quite a bit time to understand the syntax of for each loop, and if we were seeing this very first time, for each items id dot self items in text, it can be really overwhelming without any CS knowledge. So here's where the great tools like ChatGPT shines. So I actually asked ChatGPT to use a metaphor to explain and break down for each loop. So it's pretty much like setting exactly the same wall layout through each different floors. And those floor names, say level 1, level 2, level 3, is actually the ID. That way, I am able to understand it later on when I know, say some of the floors have the same name, then I can't use id.self. I have to use UUID. So things like that. During learning and following the tunes, I constantly pause and check back and forth with ChatGPT to consolidate my understanding. So even a little thing that I'm not sure of, I just type it in ChatGPT and ask. And I just type it that way, say, oh, I think blah 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 means blah blah blah. Am I correct? And ChatGPT will say, yes, you're absolutely correct. Or sometimes it will say, yes, it's kind of correct. Then you know there's something you have to understand. So not gonna lie, it does cost me a lot of energy. Sometimes my brain just switch off when the information is like completely new to me. So it took me sometimes an hour on the 20 minutes tutorials, which sometimes frustrated me. But during the first months, no matter how long I spent on the code, trying to understand the whole coding logic, when I read the code next day, I feel like I've learned nothing. I'm reading some ancient Egyptian symbols on a stone, and it's feeling really discouraging. So I talked to one of my best friend who's a software engineer, works in the corporate world. He said, don't worry, just make sure you write a bit of code every single day. It doesn't really matter what you write and how hard the code is, but you can't stop. You just get yourself familiarized with all those codes. And I'm glad I stick to it. No matter how busy I get, make sure I code. When I was on family travel, I read SwiftUI documents, some other source to familiarize the syntax. So now it's my second month now. I'm now feeling way more comfortable writing codes on my own, and I have already started to build my very own first app. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit about using AI and learning tools. So in my perspective, using AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude allows you to stay on high level. So saving tons of time from stucking into small nuances. I would not be able to learn this much within such a short period without those amazing tutorials and those amazing AI tools. So the recent update on Xcode for the code completion is also a big helper for beginners like me. I've actually attended indies and iOS developers meetings, and they actually talked about how they see the code completion. I would say a lot of people say it saves a bit of time for them, but it it's not like pure AI provides several options for them to choose from. It's always like the code completion is right or you don't use it at all. But for beginners like me, I found it quite useful because it just get rid of any sort of syntax errors. Like I'm talking about preliminary levels, like stupid spelling errors like that. I know have been series saying AI will keep evolving until all the software engineers who does coding will lose their job and etc. But personally, I don't think it's gonna happen. It will not eliminate them, but it will very likely change their daily task from heavy hard manual coding to use those tools and directing them to provide like higher efficiency. I remember back when ChatGPT first came out, it was like, I don't know, a couple years ago. Guys in architecture fields were freaking out and they were saying, oh god, we're gonna get replaced by AI by say 10 years time. Nobody wanna architect anymore. The developers just gonna ask AI to build a nice building with this sort of styles and things like that. But it never happened. Picture this. In the perfect world scenario, everyone start to use new AI tools. Who's gonna be the best of using them? It's still gonna be software engineer. In architecture, it's still gonna be the architects who use those AI tools best. Because they already have the knowledge in advance, right? So in my point of view, AI tools will help people to become entry level in any industry faster than ever. But still, it can help you to accelerate. But it cannot help you to skip the process of learning by yourself. And my past 2 months learning experience has really confirmed what I think. I've heard so many times people without any coding knowledge manage to write an app or plugin with AI tools. So yeah, I tried my first day. So I started to ask ChatGPT to write a simple tangram puzzle game on day one. So remember, on day one, I don't even know shit. So then I was literally just copy and passing all the codes, but not understanding anything other than very basic things. So after doing that, it doesn't feel like it's my own project. When I look at those codes, I don't even understand. I don't even know where to place things, not to mention MVVM and other ways of structuring the projects. And the worst thing is I can't do any modification without asking ChatGPT to modify its code. That's the moment I realized I have to find some good learning resources to reach to a certain level first before I can use that as a production tool. So 2 months in, how do I feel? When I was writing my own app with the assistant from ChatGPT, I still can't fully understand the code, to be honest. But I was able to understand the structure and the coding logic, high level. In order to achieve a certain task, I have to do step 1, step 2, step 3. But even that, I already felt I have owned the project because I understand how it was structured. Then I'm able to just take a step back and work at a very high level, just managing and make sure the logic's correct and let ChatGPT to do the rest. So as an outsider, see the future of coding will be very much like this. Then you would have time to see things in a higher level and see the much broader picture instead of just getting into those small details and stuck with it, which I know many software engineers and architects, designers will always do. So my personal tips, other than learning the actual coding language, I also spend a lot of time watching other iOS developers vlog. get to know the workflow as a developer and not so much about their achievements and focusing on the progress they went through and what are the thoughts on some of their life choices, especially some down moments. So far, I am able to write some small apps like simple word guessing puzzles, to-do list, restaurant review app. I'm currently working on a time-focused app, which is the productivity tools, and I'm designing and drawing everything myself. I felt quite proud of what I've got right now as a completely noob, but also a bit scared to run into any errors that I can't resolve. There's no go-to person when I encounter a problem. If I tell ChatGPT and it can't resolve, I'm done. So I used to think I should at least have some sort of achievement, at least finish one app or launch an app, reach to a certain downloads to show you guys like, hey, look how successful I'm learning SwiftUI. But then I changed my mind. It's not about that. It's about sharing the real process of learning from scratch, finding people who resonate with me, who actually are learning or think about learning SwiftUI. So this is one of my personal experience, and you might find it's useful. You might find it doesn't work for me. It's all good. I try not to think about what I can achieve over half year's time. Really dive into the process of learning and gaining. So even if I turn out ugly and ended up have to go back straight to architecture and not thinking about making an app ever again, I don't know, to be honest. I just have to keep sailing. It's all about exploring new things, and I guess that matters to me the most. So lastly, I wanted to thank everyone who's watching till the end. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope I have given you some inspirations. And yeah, let me know what else I can do to improve my videos, or do you have a better tip for learning SwiftUI or even coding or any other things outside your knowledge and outside your college degree. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. See you next time.